Welcome to the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. I'm your host, Robin L. Owens, Ph.D., and this is where we dive in each week to give advice, tools, and tips for high-achieving, purpose-minded women who've written nonfiction books and want to amplify their message beyond the book. I'm a college professor, and when I'm not doing that, I am speaking, coaching, mentoring, and teaching high-achieving women who have written books how to use their books to make a bigger difference, have more impact, and purpose. Okay, let's dive in. Welcome to the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. So glad you're here for season 2. And the theme for season 2 is Beyond the Book. And today, the topic for our episode is amplifying your message beyond the book, amplifying your message beyond the book. And I will be talking about what I even mean by message, why it's important to you as an author or an inspiring author of a nonfiction book, and how you even express your message. So I'm going to talk about those 3 things. But first, let me say this episode is sponsored by my company, Masterful Course Creations, LLC. And this is where we help speakers, trainers, coaches, and consultants turn their books into masterful courses. And so if you want to learn how to do that, we have some free training. Just go to createmasterfulcourses.com. createmasterfulcourses.com. Okay, now let's get back to the episode. All right, so we're going to be talking about amplifying your message beyond the book. First, let me start with what is a message. I mean, we all know and have our own ideas about what that might be, but let me just say what I mean when I say amplifying your message, what I mean by message. And I'm just simply meaning it's if you have something to say, something that you want to say to make a difference, something you want to say to make a difference, that's your message. And why it's important for you to express that message is because expression changes and grows as you change and grow. It also gives you a sense of purpose and fulfillment. When there's something down in you and you just want to get it out there, right? As you change and grow, it changes and grows. Which reminds me, years ago, I lived in New York City, and I lived next door to the Manhattan School of Music. And it's a private music conservatory. So I lived on the second floor. I lived in an apartment building, my apartment was on the second floor. And outside of the window, there was a bus stop, right? And so sometimes it could be like 11 o'clock at night, and I would hear somebody singing at the bus stop. And it was always the student, when I looked out, it was always somebody from the Manhattan School of Music. As they were waiting for the bus, they were singing. So at times I would get pieces of an opera and all other kinds of lovely singing because they were passing their time waiting for the bus singing. And I thought about that then, and I'm thinking about it now, how there was something inside of them. Music was in them, and they just had to let it out. It was just a natural way to just always be expressing it. And so when I think about that for us today, how whatever's in you, whether you have written a book and it's in the book, or you're thinking about another book, or you're thinking about your first book, if there's something you want to say to make a difference, it probably is trying to come out and be expressed for the first time or in new and bigger ways. Now, how do you do that? How do you express your message? Well, it depends on where you are in your life and work's journey, right? So let's say here's 3 ways, or here's 3 different places you can be on your journey. If you thought about it, there's something in the back of your mind. You're like, there's something that I know I want to talk about. I want to say, I want to get it out there, but it's just not clear. You kind of know, and it might be related to a new book you want to write, or it might be related to the book you've already written, but there's something in the back of your mind. Okay, so something is calling to you, right? So that's kind of one phase of the journey. Another phase, you might be in a place where you're saying, you have the book and now you want to kind of make some changes about how you do business related to the book, or you want to start doing business related to the book. And within that, you want to incorporate another level of purpose. So that's another phase. And the third phase you might be in is if you very clear on your message, what you want to say, you know, you want to make a difference and you've been doing it for a while, but now you want to do it in a bigger way. So how you express your message depends on where you are in any of those three phases. So now I'm going to share with you 3 books that can help you depending on any of those phases you're in. So it could help you amplify your message. All right. So 3 books, and all 3 of these books, the authors of these books have been past guests on this podcast. And so I don't have any kind of affiliation with them other than they are guests, and these books speak to me, and I hope they might speak to you depending on where you are in your journey of wanting to amplify your message beyond the book. All right. So the first one is if you are, as I mentioned, you're like unclear, there's something that's kind of bubbling up in the back of your mind. You want to kind of move forward, but can't quite because not quite clear. Well, the first book I would say that could be a huge help for you is called You Are a Heroine. You Are a Heroine. It's a retelling of the hero's journey, and it's written by the award-winning author, Susanna Liller. And I'll put her information in the show notes. But the reason why I'm saying this book might be good for you, if you have something in your mind, you might have a message, there might be something you're wanting to say, but you're not quite clear on how you want to say that in your next book or as an expansion of a book or books you already have. You Are a Heroine. What I love about this book is Susanna takes this ancient story pattern, which we probably have heard of, the hero's journey, right? The hero's journey, which is based on an ancient story pattern on understanding your life and how life kind of unfolds for you. And Susanna does a beautiful job of using that story pattern and particularly focusing on women's journeys. And she talks about different milestones that you go through in your life. And one of them is she talks about how you can know when life is calling you for something else, what happens and what those experiences are. So that's the reason why I say this is a good book to refer to if you are unclear. Right. So if you're unclear, like, oh, there's something going on, there's something I want to do, and it's related to my books and my life or my work, then going through the steps of You Are a Heroine, I think could be a big help for you. And I mean, because this story pattern, you know, it has worked for so many different people to understand how to tell stories, but also how to understand their own lives and how their lives are going through changes. And so that's why I want to recommend that for you. And again, that book is You Are a Heroine, and I'll put it in the show notes. All right. So that was the first way of kind of getting clear on your message. What do you want to do next with and through your life and or book? All right. The next one is you have a book and you're kind of thinking you either have a business related to it or you're thinking about having a business related to your book. And you want to really get a sense of, have a greater sense of purpose within that. So book, business, and purpose, you want all those together in a way that helps you amplify your message. All right. So here's the book I would recommend for that. Again, a past podcast guest. Now, before I go on to this, let me step back just one moment and say, Susanna Liller, you can hear more about her and her work if you go back to episode 5. And you'll find out there she's an executive coach and she's an author and leads workshops. And she does this work on helping women move through the transformations in their lives. Okay, so that's back on episode 5. All right, so now let's move forward to if you're wanting business related to your book and or a greater sense of purpose within that. All right, so this is the book that I would recommend for that. And another podcast, a previous podcast guest. And the book is called The Tao of Entrepreneurship. The Tao of Entrepreneurship. 52 Lessons in Applying Spiritual Principles in Business Ownership. All right, let me say it again. And of course, it'll be in the show notes. The Tao of Entrepreneurship. 52 Lessons in Applying Spiritual Principles to Business Ownership. And the author of that book is Marsha Bench. Marsha Bench. And this book really helps you think about how you could amplify your message and your voice through your business, that in a way that adds more purpose and fulfillment. She helps you incorporate purpose into your day-to-day. So there are 52 lessons in the book that you can go through each day that will help you build on your mindset, your purpose mindset, and connect it with your business. The Tao of Entrepreneurship. And by the way, the Tao, spelled T-A-O, means the way. So she's using it as the way to entrepreneurship. And Marsha is a master purposeful entrepreneur coach. Isn't that interesting? Because it's sort of related to the name of my company and my work. But anyway, she's been a coach, a consultant, speaker, and author for over 2 decades. And you can go back and hear more about her and the work she's doing in episode 44. But that's a great resource to help you if you're considering how to create a business around your book and have more purpose with that. And now the third and last way that I'll talk about, if you're kind of clear on your message, you know what you want to say, you have it in your book or books, but you want to kind of get it out in a bigger way. You want to get your message out in a bigger way. And so I would say one way to do that is to start thinking bigger. Start thinking bigger. And what I mean by that is maybe think about, how can I reach more people in ways that I haven't even thought of? And here's one way to think about it. The third book that I want to lift up here is, the title of the book is called How to Start a 6-Figure Publishing Company. How to Start a 6-Figure Publishing Company. And the author of that book is Adriana Monique Alvarez. And she was a guest on our podcast back in episode 60. So if you want to learn more about her, you can go back and listen to that episode. She is the CEO and founder of AMA Publishing. And she teaches women how to start their own publishing companies, which I think is absolutely amazing. And, I was saying to you, think bigger. In case you're wondering, what kind of women? What do you have to be? What kind of background? She teaches women from all backgrounds, from corporate professionals to spiritual leaders, coaches, yoga instructors, business consultants, editors, ghostwriters. I mean, she's met with so many, and that's just to name a few. So if I'm stretching you to think bigger, maybe that might be something to consider if you're wanting to get your message out in a bigger way. Or just reading about how they are doing that might inspire you to think about other ways to get your message from your book or your books out in a bigger way. So those are the 3 resources I share with you to amplify your message beyond the book. If you're unclear, not sure even what your message is or how you want to move forward, check out You Are a Heroine. And if you are wanting to connect your book to business and purpose all together, check out The Tao of Entrepreneurship. And if you're really saying, I want to make a huge impact, even bigger in ways that I haven't even thought of, then check out How to Start a 6-Figure Publishing Company. All 3 of those resources are excellent and will hopefully encourage and inspire you to move forward as you think about amplifying your message beyond the book. So that's what we have for you today. And of course, as I mentioned at the early start of our episode today, you can always check out my new program on how to turn your book into a masterful course by going to createmasterfulcourses.com. createmasterfulcourses.com. And you can learn more about me and my background at robinlowens.com. robinlowens.com. And until next time, this is Dr. Robin. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. If you enjoyed it, head on over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. New episodes drop every week, and I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Meanwhile, this is Dr. Robin signing off. See you next time.